Hi, and welcome to the first episode of season 2 of the Clever Hybrids podcast. Welcome back. I'm here with Tiago Campos Camargo. Tiago is a Brazilian electrical engineer living in Germany. He speaks 4 languages: Portuguese, Spanish, English, and German. So he's definitely a clever hybrid. Thanks so much for being here with us, Tiago.
Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it. You studied electrical engineering at the Universidade Estadual Paulista Julio de Mesquita Filho. It's very long, so we'll just call it UNESP for short, in Guarantigueta, a small town in the state of Sao Paulo. And now you work for Bosch in Germany. Couldn't you walk us through how that happened?
Yes, for sure. So I studied in a small town called Guaratinguetá. It's 1 hour from my city, so it made me move to there as it would be complicated to go every day from my home. And I lived in a dorm. In that dorm, I had several students, colleagues that they were also studying electrical engineering, and they told me about the opportunity to go to Germany for an exchange. And international experience in Brazil is really good for your CV. So that got my attention. So I started learning from the first semester German, and in the fourth year I could go to Germany. So first I went to Karlsruhe to study in the University of Applied Science, and the second semester I worked for Daimler in a Mercedes-Benz project. Then, after that 1 year exchange experience, I came back to Brazil to finish my bachelor degree, and I got the opportunity to come back to Germany to work for Bosch, and here I am since March.
Wow, that's great. So you made it in right before all of the corona restrictions. That's amazing. It makes me feel better too that you've been learning for 4 years because your German is way better than mine.
You can do it.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But you even mentioned to me before that you didn't grow up bilingual. So when did you start with the other languages, English and Spanish?
So English I started early. My parents they had a different mindset because in Brazil it's not common to learn English. So before at least. So since when I was younger, they had this priority for me and my sister to make us learn English as it would be a differential for us in the future. So English I've learned at school, and I had the opportunity to go to South Africa. It was an amazing experience. I learned there also more about the language, the culture, and I did voluntary work in South Africa. For Spanish, it came later than English, but with our vacation in Chile, I had an amazing overview from the language, and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn more about the culture, the language, and I started doing some classes. And I had the opportunity to go back to Chile, where my uncle was working in Santiago. And with my cousins, I spent an amazing vacation also doing language courses and experience more about the culture.
Wow, that's really cool. What kind of volunteer work did you do in South Africa?
In South Africa, I was going every day to a senior home, and there I was responsible to take care of the elderly and interact them with reading, talking, playing. So every day I had courses in the morning. In the afternoon, I was going every day to visit the elderly.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I'm sure they appreciated
Yeah, I hope so.
it. Now that you speak so many languages, you have a whole world of opportunities. So why did you choose Germany over Portugal, staying in Brazil, or even an English or Spanish speaking country?
Yeah, so I didn't choose Germany for the language or culture. I chose because of the field. So for electrical engineer, Germany is a really important country, and not only for electrical engineer, but for engineer itself. And the opportunities here they were better. And when I came here, it was a good experience as I have been already for 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, definitely made in Germany always means quality, I noticed.
Mhm.
Where you are, I know it's a bit of a smaller town. Are there a lot of other expats like you, or are you the only one?
It's not a huge town, but there are a lot of expats as me. So, especially because of the university, there are several international students. Some of them come from India, from Pakistan, from Nigeria, also from Brazil. So, I'm not the only one, and that's also something interesting and nice that we can mix cultures and we can also learn with each other. At work, also, we have several nationalities. It's a really international team
Hmm.
from yes, from Netherlands, from India also. So it's besides living in Germany, I have the opportunity to know a lot of different cultures.
All right. You also moved relatively recently in 2018, and then, like you said, you moved to Germany, came back to Brazil, and moved to Germany again. Do you still deal with homesickness a lot?
Yes, I do a lot, but I'm really thankful for my parents, my sister, that they give me all the necessary support. And due to technology, we can call every day with video. We can be in touch. I can be in. I know what's happening. They can also know what's happening. It's way different from the past that it was only per voice and really fast. So homesickness, I think it's something that complicated to get rid if I will always miss my family and my country besides living in a different country.
Yeah, that's true. It's your new home, but you'll always remember your first home.
Yes, as it was said in a different podcast, when you go to a different country, you leave a part of you, but in that new country, there's also a new part of you that stays. So whenever you move, you are leaving part of you, but you are gathering more friends and important relationships.
You've been listening to the other episodes. Bonus points for you. What are the biggest differences you notice between English and German?
For me, German is way more complex to learn. But what I understand from English is that the words are simpler. When we don't, in English, you don't need to differ the gender. It's always the chair, the table. But in German, that's not what happens. The German is similar to Portuguese. We also have genders in the words, and that can make things more complex when you learn the language to use with different cases, accusative, dative, and so on. So that's one of the point. And the second that for me it's also still a bit complicated is the grammatical grammar. So when they speak, there's always a way to use the verb on the end of the sentence. And for me, that's one of the most complicated because in Portuguese we always start with the subject and the verb. So I know directly what will happen, who is doing. But for German, it's more important first the the context and then what they will do.
Yeah, that's true. I noticed that with the is der, die, and das, three of them.
Yeah.
And then also, some of the words are so long because they're very specific.
Yes. Well, in the beginning, it's a bit more complicated, but then the words start making sense. As example, gloves, it's in German Handschuhe, which is hand, and Schuhe is shoes. So it's a shoe for the hands, gloves.
Yeah, even stuff like that, if you translate it, it'll make you laugh, but that'll help you remember
Yeah,
it.
somehow, yes.
What's the hardest part for you with English now that you live in a German speaking country, you speak Portuguese with your family, and you have to use English for work? What's the hardest part for you now?
English, I've been learning for a while since I was a real child, so I'm more comfortable with the language now, and it's always good to keep using. So, for example, now I use for work, which for me it's better because, as you said, I talk with my parents in Portuguese, in German, and working in English. It's amazing to keep in touch with the language.
Yeah, that's true. What about your Spanish? Do you feel like it's dying now, or are you still using it?
I was way better before. I could talk easier than now. But what I think it's interesting that I can still understand. So I watch La Casa de Papel. I listen to musics from Latin America, and I can understand. But for me, the most complicated is that I'm losing the sense of what's Portuguese and what's Spanish, because the language
Mm.
are really similar. So sometimes I don't know anymore if I'm creating a new word, if I'm using Portuguese, or if I'm mixing a lot with Portuguese.
Okay, maybe you can invent a new language. That's really cool, though. You're trying to keep it up on your own. But what advice would you give to others who are in your same situation? They have to use English at work, but they move to another country. I know there's a lot of Latinos who live in Sweden, Finland, Germany, some even in Russia or Japan, that they have to speak those languages but use English at work. How can you balance that?
I think the easiest way is to not over pressure, to otherwise you feel overwhelmed. The moment that people they understand that language will not come as a duty but as a way of living, or a way to make it easier to live in the country or to work, it will get easier to learn, and it will be joyful to learn a new language. So my advice would be to have friends in the language, in your target language, so your friends can correct you, can help you, can improve. For people that are living in a different country and they still need to use a third language, I would say that Netflix or music, they are always there if you just want to relax, to not make yourself stressed because you're not understanding. So always listening to music, to read the newspaper, it's the best way. And yes, do not stress too much, because language, everyone needs time. I didn't learn German in one day or in one year. It took time to me. It took time to learn English. I still learn Spanish. So take your time and be patient.
That's very good advice. For the other Brazilians out there that might be listening to this, is there anything that you want to tell them about dealing with the current situation that you've noticed is helpful?
I hope they can keep respecting the measurements, staying at home, staying safe, and hopefully we'll overcome this together and the vaccine will arrive soon, as also in Germany and Europe the numbers are increasing. So it's pandemic, it's global, and it's affecting everyone. It's not only one country, it's not one place. Everyone is affected, and hopefully the whole world will overcome together.
Yeah, that's true. It seems the whole world is going into the second wave. So everyone, please stay vigilant and quédate en casa, stay home. How do you say that in Portuguese?
Fique em casa.
There you go. But thank you so much, Tiago. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram. I'm really available. So on Instagram, it's at Tiago with H and C underline Camargo. So if they can reach me out there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And for those of you listening, this is Gabby V with Tiago Camargo. You have a lot of insights to share. So everybody reach out to Tiago. And until next time, learn by doing and asking. Hasta pronto.